with that, I think I'll hand over to Praveen for the fantastic session ahead. Praveen, over to you. Thank you all the panelists once again.
Thank you, Srinjay. It's a pleasure to be on such an important platform to discuss about child sexual abuse. Taking the session ahead, we are going to talk about responsible digital engagement with children through play. So with that, we have Mr. Christopher, who is the Director of Digital Responsibility, Government and Public Affairs at the LEGO Group, where he oversees LEGO relationships, building activities with government and political organizations on the subjects of responsible digital engagement with children on a very important policies such as data protection, digital safety, cybersecurity, and online marketing. Play. Using play to support children's understanding as a future of child protection is very crucial. Learning about the importance of online safety and how learning could be encouraged through play. LEGO's Build and Talk initiatives helps parents talk to their kids about online safety and digital citizenship and address barriers through fun ways to talk to children, because children understands the language of play. With today's session, we expect to have a meaningful discussions on how a sensitive issue like online child abuse can be addressed through play. LEGO has been instrumental in bringing this discussion on a digital platform through its unique Build and Talk program. Let's welcome Mr. Christopher to address the delegates of YA Masoom Summit. Over to you, sir.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And if we could pull up the slides, that would be super. So first and foremost, thanks for the invitation to speak today and to follow that panel, which was really fascinating, really important issues and really well communicated. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to talk about two topics that LEGO are deeply passionate about: play and safety, both online and offline. Hopefully the presentation will take around 20 minutes, a little bit less, and then that will leave some room at the end for some questions. If we could move to the next slide. So just a quick introduction to the company. So LEGO, as you may know, is a Danish company, still family owned and still headquartered in a very small town called Billund in Denmark, which is actually where the company originated from in 1932. It's got around 18,800 colleagues, a little bit more now, and is present in over 130 countries in the world, and has recently been voted by the Reputation Institute as the #1 reputable company. Moving on. So our mission: to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. And who are these builders of tomorrow? Well, the builders of tomorrow are the children and young people of today. And the way we look to inspire and develop them is through play. And moving on to the next slide. So for us, play is a very serious thing. A lot of people think play is something that children do simply to pass time. But for us, play is absolutely critical to children's development and well-being. We have an organization, part of the LEGO family, called the LEGO Foundation. And I would encourage everyone on this call, if they haven't followed some of the work of the LEGO Foundation, to go to the LEGO Foundation site. They are dedicated to understanding the benefits of play to children, children's development and children's growth. Part of what they've discovered is the sheer range of skills that can be developed by children through play. Skills like emotional skills, which help us to express our needs and our wants. Cognitive skills that help us to solve those complex tasks and help us to solve problems. Physical skills, fitness, motor neuron skills. Social skills, how we collaborate, how we communicate, how we work together to solve problems. And creative skills, the ability and confidence to create something, to express ourselves and to imagine. Moving on to the next slide, please. Now, many people still think of LEGO as an offline company. Everyone's very familiar with the plastic brick. Over the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years, and increasingly this year and accelerating going forward, we're looking at transporting play into the digital environment. You may have seen some of the digital content which we put forward either through the Lego movies or playful content which sits on either our social media platforms or other social media platforms like YouTube and YouTube Kids. In the middle there, you've got an augmented reality solution called Hidden Sides, which seeks to really blend online and offline play, something we call fluid play, which really uses technology to augment the physical play experience. Next one, please. Some of you may be very familiar with the Lego gaming portfolio. I think we probably have hundreds of games now out there with the Lego system of play experience embedded in it. And of course, robotics and coding. That picture there is Lego Boost, which I think came out last year, and is a child-friendly way to really develop those STEM skills of the future through coding. Now, a couple of interesting facts. Actually, Lego produced its first robot in the Mindstorm series all the way back in the 90s, so over 20 years ago. Lego Robotics actually is a core part of one of the biggest robotics competitions in the world, First Lego League, which has over over 500,000 participants between 4 and 16. And actually, really interestingly, around 50% of those are girls, which is fantastic given the challenges that some of us face with elevating girls' involvement in those STEM sectors and STEM jobs. Moving on to the next one. So safety. Now, safety is one of the core principles that lies at the center of how Lego really conducts its business and develops its products. That is true offline with the physical brick, and we have spent billions and billions and billions of hours, billions of pounds, billions and hundreds of thousands of hours trying to work out how to develop and deliver a safe physical play experience with the brick. We are attempting to do something similar in a digital environment. So safety becomes the core and the starting point for how we develop our digital experiences. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Now, why is safety important for children? Why is safety important for Lego? First and foremost, safety is embedded and codified in the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. So protection sits in there as a fundamental right that all children are entitled to. Safety is critical to well-being. We heard a little bit earlier that unless children have a safe environment within which to play, they are unable to access some of the benefits that they would receive from play. So it's not only about mitigation of harm, it's not only about avoidance of harm, it's also about giving them the ability, giving them that nurturing environment in which they can actually learn and grow, develop, communicate, and create. And for us, safety is a responsible solution to maintaining, to building and maintaining trust with parents and with children and with broader stakeholders as well. So it's a critical part of how we do business. How do we go about doing this? So safety by design, some of you may be familiar with that term. And actually, safety by design is really about embedding safety at the core of the digital experience. Now, one way we do that is in a platform called Lego Life. And you can see on the image there, the logo of Lego Life. Now, Lego Life has about 9.8 million unique users. And in 2019 alone, almost 10 million pieces of content were uploaded onto Lego Life. Within Lego Life, we have 100% pre-moderation commitment, which basically means that not one piece of user-generated content goes onto that platform before it has been reviewed, both through a combination of manual assessment and using AI solutions. And what that essentially means is that every piece of content that children see on our Lego Life platform is absolutely appropriate for them, absolutely appropriate for their development needs. So that's just one way in which we do that. And you can imagine having to pre-vet and check and approve over 10 million pieces of content is quite a significant undertaking, and it is. But because we've committed to delivering safety through our digital experiences, that is something that we believe is still necessary. Another way we do it, and quite recently this was introduced across all of our digital experiences, is what we call a verified parental consent mechanism. Now, some of you may be familiar through data protection law with the requirement that in some circumstances, children are unable to give consent for the processing of their data, and it requires parental consent to enable them to use an experience. For us, and I'll show you a couple of screenshots from it because I think it looks quite cool. Verified parental consent, thank you. Verified parental consent is a way to actually engage parents in their children's online experience. It's to help parents to really try and understand where children are engaging and how they're engaging, and also to help them set their privacy options, as you can see to the right. So what children are able to share and what they're not. Now, the way we try and do this is like most things through Lego, really. We try and do it in a creative way that is easy to understand and that communicates and imparts understanding both to parents and to children alike. At the bottom of the previous slide, we did also mention that we have had a global partnership with UNICEF since 2015. It's one of our core partnerships that we're deeply appreciative of, and that has allowed us to really embed in our systems and processes this concept of safety by design. Next slide, please. Thank you. One really exciting thing that's happened over the last year as well within Lego is we have concluded and set off on our new Sustainability 2022 journey. Now, the ambition behind this is to really elevate Lego to become an even more responsible brand today with all of our stakeholders, but particularly with children. Now, one key part of that, one key pillar within that sustainability plan is what we call responsible engagement with children. And that is particularly looking at how we can put children's rights and well-being at the center of our digital transformation ambitions. Now, this concept of digital well-being, and I just want to spend a little bit of time on this, is really an evolution of our approach to safety. So the way we've done this is to say that safety is critical, but what we also want to make a commitment to as a brand is to ensure that when we use digital experiences, that they deliver positive impacts on children, that they support children's development and skills. That they support their social and emotional learning. So it isn't just about protection, but it's also a commitment from us to use technology where it delivers a benefit for children's development and where it is done in children's best interest. Now, one key part of how we do this, and this brings us on to the use of play in helping children to understand, because a critical part of the relationship between brands and children and parents, families in the online environment, is for brands to help parents and children to understand some of the complex issues of today. And what we've been trying to do through play is to provide parents with the tools to enable them to talk with their children about some of these incredibly important issues in the online environment. So moving forward. Next slide, please. I just want to share a couple of quick quotes just to give you an idea of why we use play in this way. So one from Bo, who's chair of Learning Through Play at the Lego Foundation. So play is the main vehicle through which children grow and learn. It is the foundation of all forms of development and stimulates every part of the brain, enabling them to actively engage in critical thinking, experimentation, and wonder. And next, please. And one from Dr. Von Lob, who said, play is like breathing to children. Playtime offers ideal opportunities for children to express natural emotions such as anger, sadness, or happiness in a safe environment and explore their identities in relation to their peers, their family, and the world. Children will often play role different characters and give their dolls or teddies the voice they are unable to express themselves because their feelings are too confusing. This can help them to feel powerful in a world where they often feel small and powerless. And one more click through, please. And a recent study that we did in 2018 showed that when we asked children, 83% of them believe they learn better when it feels like play. So play isn't just an act, play is a mindset. Playfulness is a mindset that allows children to better process complex issues and to communicate how they're feeling about things. And that leads us on, the next slide, please, to the small builds for big conversations. Now, small builds for big conversations at its core is for parents. And essentially it is to provide parents with the tools to help them talk to their children about complex issues like digital safety and well-being. Next slide, please. So that's the objective. It's really for a company like Lego to take the responsibility and give parents the tools to better enable them to have this conversation with children. And the core concept is essentially the build. As with a lot of things in Lego, we always go back to the core of the company and the core of the brand, which is the brick. And you can see some of these fun characters on the right-hand side, which are essentially build experiences that contextualize and storify topics such as screen time online, topics such as privacy online. And if you move to the next slide, please, you'll see the latest iteration from November, which dealt entirely with the important topic of cyberbullying online. So an incredibly large percentage of children have experienced some form of cyberbullying. It's an incredibly important topic, and it's sometimes very difficult to talk about between parents and children in particular. What this pack does, and you can see some of these, the ways in which we go about doing it, is to provide a structured format, some parameters which enable parents to have this conversation in a meaningful way with children while they build. So they're in the playful mindset, they're engaging in an activity that feels like play, and that helps them both to process the information that their parents will be talking to them about, but also to express some of their concerns and worries. So that's how we use it. And everybody is welcome. This is completely free to access, download and use. You can go to the Lego site and everyone can access this and have a look a bit more into the detail behind it. Next slide, please. So from the July activity that we did, we reached a little over 25 million parents, with 1.5 million of them actively engaged in the campaign, and had around 7,000 downloads of the activity packs. So as an initial initiative, I think it was really successful. As a medium, the use of play to support learning and communication between parents and children, it's very effective. So, this will continue. It continued in November, and we're looking forward to continuing it in 2021 as well. I just want to leave with a couple of key points, I think. It's not the only way that Lego uses small builds for big conversations. It isn't the only thing that we have that uses play to help children understand and to learn about complex topics. Another example you can see on the left is this concept of build the change, which has recently been taken onto a digital platform, and which again uses the build experience, the play experience, to help children learn about important topics around sustainability, biodiversity, and renewable energies. And again, I welcome everyone to go and have a look at that, and to explore the tools that we have available there. I think the other thing I want to say is that, in 2021, Lego will take even further steps to better listen to the voices of children. I think it's something that we do innately anyway. We always say within the company that children are our role models. But I think even we can get better at actually ensuring that when we start to adopt positions on privacy or positions on safety, or how we talk publicly about these things, that we're listening to the voices of children and we're integrating that in a co-creative approach. So there's more to come in 2021. And then the very last thing I just want to say is a little bit of a call to action as well. I think there is tremendous potential for children and young people to have a incredibly strong say in the design and deployment of the digital environment going forward, what that should look like. And I would just say that it's great to hear your voices, and we'd love to hear more of what you have to say. We'd love to hear your hopes and your dreams of what the online environment will deliver for you. And I can make that commitment that for our part, Lego will listen. And that's it. Next slide. That should leave us with just short of 10 minutes for questions, I think.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Christopher. It was really interesting to know about the Lego plans and how you have integrated play into the entire module of addressing this sensitive issue for the children. Children understands play much better than anything else, and then having them discussing about the child sexual abuse in the most meaningful way is something which we are also looking forward for. Now, when you talk about digital citizenship, I would like to know, what do you exactly mean by digital citizenship?
So it's a really good question. I just want to sort of actually talk to your first point, and then I'll come on to citizenship. Okay. Play is an incredibly powerful tool. And I think, some of the experiences that I've had working with a charity in the UK, NSPCC, how they use play in therapy to support the rehabilitation of children. So I think all I would say is that on that, we would just reiterate that we take play very seriously because play has very serious benefits to it. And so I thank you for that point, and I think it just reaffirms what I mentioned earlier. In terms of digital citizenship, now, digital citizenship can mean a lot of different things to different people. For us, it's about demonstrating positive behaviors online. So I think everybody has a responsibility within the system, within the online system, to deliver a better world, a better digital environment for children. At Lego, we understand that it's not just about us putting up safety protections. It's not just us about putting up barriers to, whether it's to communication or whatever, to protect children. We also have to empower and enable them through encouraging them to adopt positive behaviors online. We have within our Lego Life system what we call a safety pledge, which encourages children to respect each other, encourages children to respect each other's privacy, to be kind, and a number of other commitments that actually every user which goes on to our Lego Life platform has to sign up to. What I would also say is we've also started working a lot around the issue of social and emotional learning. So a lot about empathy. And what we're really trying to do there is just to help children to understand the consequences of some of the actions which they take online. And it's interesting, the conversation that we've been having around cyberbullying, because it isn't just about helping children to maintain resilience when they're being bullied online. It's also about helping children who might say something that is hurtful, but unintentionally hurtful, to just think twice about what it is that they're saying in an online environment. So it's really about establishing these kind of behaviors, and taking a degree of responsibility to ensure that we just create a better online system. So that's a little bit around how we approach digital citizenship.
Thank you so much. To take the further questions, you have been speaking about Build and Talk initiative by Lego. Now, we want to understand, as a young Indians, as a part of this responsible organization from India, how we can take this activity pack of yours to Indian parenting community. How Vaya can play a very proactive role in promoting Lego, this initiatives of Lego, to the parenting community of India.
So I think, as I say, the information and the packs and the guidelines are completely free to use. Everyone can download them. There's no restrictions on that at all. I think, as I say, we have bigger plans for small builds for big conversations in 2021. And as I said, I've made a commitment that we'd love to hear your voice. And I made a commitment that Lego will listen. And so I think we'd be really interested in hearing some of the thoughts that you have for topics potentially for 2021. And, I make that commitment that we would be delighted, I think, to work with you to support the development and the promotion of those packs, getting them into the hands of those families that need them most. So I think in terms of collaboration, we're always always open in working with partners. And, you know, Young Indian sounds like a fantastic forum. I've said that the voices of children and young people are incredibly important. So maybe that's one where we can have a conversation afterwards.
But this also brings us to another question, which is very, I mean, it's stages where we are not able to address so properly. There are remote villages. There are places where we still have not made inroad about internet and computer. And I'm talking about the rural side of our country, especially, and also to countries where computer is still not penetrated. So how do we address such magnitude of issues to such areas?
Yeah, and that's a fantastic question. I think, you know, particularly during COVID, this question of digital access and the digital divide and the negative impacts on children and parents from not being able to access the online world has really come to the fore. You know, I think there are opportunities because what essentially we're doing is encouraging a very natural experience in play. So I think you don't have to have Lego bricks to play. I mean, let's be very clear about that. You could facilitate conversation between children and parents with anything in the house that you have to play with. So I think it's an incredibly good point, and it's definitely one that I would take back and internalize, because one potential expansion of this could be that actually we look at providing options to learn through play with just the things that you have in the house. That doesn't have to be necessarily a Lego brick. And I think, as I said, we'd be delighted to work with you to understand how we can reach more parents that don't necessarily have access to those online experiences. So I think it's a fantastic point, and I'd love to sort of take that back to the company and internalize that.
Thank you so much. So we would like to conclude this session because we barely have about a minute or so. Christopher, thank you so much for coming. Also with this note, I would like to inform the audience here, the August audience, that Project Masoom is a YA initiative which talks about sensitizing kids about safe and unsafe touch through its 55 city chapters in the country. We have more than 3,300 members in the country wherein we talk about such issues. So as I've heard from you, that play is a very important part in addressing any kind of issues, because what I see the world tomorrow is definitely a world has to be more safer for the kids. As you have mentioned, that 65% KG's children's, the jobs opportunity is still not been developed so far. So with all this new kind of creativity which Lego is bringing out to the children, it also opens up the entire creative minds of the children. As I always believe that children should be taught how to face rejections. Rejections are no, basically. So in today's world, wherein parents are very well-to-do from the affluent things, we give everything, whatever is required for the children. But when we start talking about how to handle rejections and also how to have play in our agenda on a regular basis, I think we are going to address and see a better world tomorrow. So Mr. Christopher, thank you so much for addressing us at the Masoom Summit, and we look forward for a collaboration in future as well. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.